Hey, how you doing? I'm one of your favorite rappers. Reason for the lyrics and everything that is after. Never call it quits, I'm calling it another chapter. Don't produce the
This is the song that got me through, and I'm your co-host, Anil Maharjan. This week, we spoke to one of Minneapolis' finest up-and-coming rap duos, the Gorillaz Back Music. We spoke about how Kendrick Lamar and J. helped get them through difficult times and shape their desire to make conscious rap. We also spoke about the state of Minneapolis rap and why the group continues to avoid all the trends. If you notice this slightly different intro to our episode, this is off their most recent track, COVID Freestyle. We'll be featuring the track throughout the episode. If you're interested in listening to more of their music, I highly recommend you check out their latest album, The Panda Effect, especially the song Black Thoughts. It's a song that resonates as loud as ever. We have a link in the show notes to find everything you need. One note before we start the show. In the first 10 minutes, we talk about suicide and depression, including a brief description of suicide. If this is not something you feel comfortable hearing, please skip about 10 minutes and enjoy the rest of our chat. If you want to be on the show or find a playlist with all songs ever featured on the show, check out the link on our Instagram page and in the show notes. Or if you have any questions, email us, thesongthatgotmethrough@gmail.com. Now, enjoy the show. Hey Sarah, how's it going this week?
I feel like that question is not a question that we can ask anymore. Though
I know.
But I mean,
it feels loaded.
It's good as can be expected.
Oh man, our guests this week, I spoke to them a few weeks ago, and like I was saying right before we started the show, I feel like the world has completely changed since I last spoke to them, and I'm really looking forward to hopping into our conversation. So rather than you and me talking, let's hop right in. Guys, you want to introduce yourselves?
So we are the Gorillaz Back Music. I am Marcel, aka Styles. That's my stage name. And me and my partner in crime here, we've been making music together and been in a group for 5 years now. But me personally, I have been making music for a little over 11 years now.
My name is Cortez, aka Antonio Fix. Like Style said, we've been making music since 2015. I've been writing music since I was like 12 years old, so that's going on 16 years. But only been recording on a serious note for about, I'll say 8, 9. But yeah, just been trying to handle everything that's going on in this world right now.
And where are you based out of?
We're based out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. I was born and raised in North Carolina, though.
Gotcha.
And moved up here 8 years ago.
And I feel like that North Carolina connection is gonna work into this a little bit. So,
yeah, exactly.
So we're doing things a little bit differently this week. Since we got 2 guests, we also have 2 songs. So, guys, I'd love for you to start talking a little bit about the songs that got you through.
The song I chose is "Love Yours" by J. Cole. Besides the fact that we're from the same area, I'll say about 2011 when I first moved up here to Minnesota. I was dealing with a lot of depression of leaving my family in North Carolina, and I graduated in 2010, and that didn't go as planned. So 2011 started, and I was just in and out of homes. Didn't really have a stable roof over my head. I was doing just a lot of horrible things in the streets and stuff like that. And then I came up here to Minnesota in November of 2011. And it was just supposed to be a family trip for Thanksgiving. And then got in some trouble, ended up staying. And of course, leaving my family it started like a roller coaster of emotions. So I was going through depression in 2011 all the way up to 2013. And then I attempted suicide in, I want to say, February 2014. And obviously it didn't go through, thankfully. But J. Cole released his 2014 Forest Hill Drive album. And that whole album really helped me get through a lot of things. But the Love Yours single in particular just pushed me over the edge, and it helped me understand life better. And don't envy everybody else because they got something that you don't have. just love everything that you have, even if it's the minimum, and just have faith in yourself.
Yeah,
Just keep it brief.
Yeah, no, I think I definitely think that we want to dig into that a little bit further, because like at what, J. Cole is definitely one of those artists that I think that a lot of people are inspired by. And what's interesting about the song that you picked, as well as just J. Cole in general, is he's a very understated individual, and yet makes such a huge impact on the people that listen to his music. So I would love to hear a little bit more about your connection to the song. And I'd also like to know a little bit more, if you feel comfortable talking about, like, when did you realize like you had depression? Because another thing is, I have a very similar story to yours in terms of depression and suicide. And I actually didn't realize that I was going through depression until much, much, much too late. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I think I was in denial about having depression, and like something was wrong with me for the longest time. But even when that song came out, I think I came to the realization that I had it probably 2016. So, it took me 2 years to like fully understand and accept that, maybe I am depressed and maybe I do need help. But I think 2015, I had a friend, her name was Elise. She passed away not too long ago, but she came to me and she asked me if I could write her a song to speak about my depression and to speak about her depression. And during that time that she was texting me, I had cut my wrist. So I was texting her and writing the song and bleeding from my wrist. So it was like, a lot going on at that moment. Like, I could have easily bled out and, possibly died or been in a critical condition. But yeah, as my wrist was bleeding, I was writing a song for her. And the song name was Demons. And I just kept resorting back to Love Yours by J. Cole to like reference that song and to help me get through, because I kept crying the whole time. So like I really didn't want to finish it. I just wanted to give up on everything at that moment. But
did you end up finishing that song?
Yeah, I finished it. It's actually on my SoundCloud. And I changed the name to Elise's name after she passed, to dedicate that song to her, because she was the inspiration on it. And every time somebody asks me about the song, I tell them how it happened, and like it was a possibility that I couldn't even finish the song because that's how much blood that I lost that night. So that song really, is very deep to me.
Do you feel more comfortable and open talking about it now that you've written that song and put it out there? Or like previously you said that you were in denial and you didn't really want to talk about that feeling that you had?
I wouldn't say I'm comfortable, nor am I uncomfortable, because I never really talk about it unless it's me writing music. So like,
Right.
if I'm feeling depressed or if I'm feeling down about something, then I wouldn't talk to anybody about it. I'll just go write a song about it, and people would just think that I'm speaking from somebody else's perspective, but in reality, it's from my perspective and what I'm going through. But I have a lot of people asking me if I want to talk about it, but I guess this is the first time that I ever came out and spoke about it outside of the music. So it does feel good right now to talk about it, but it's still kind of uncomfortable because I don't know how to speak about it.
Well, it's such a raw emotion, but what's really cool is that you're really inspiring and probably helping so many other people by just putting it into lyrics and putting that out there.
Have you been able to perform that song live as well, or have you primarily just kept it as a recorded version?
I think I recorded it twice before I met Marcel, and when I did meet him, I think I recorded it once after meeting him, and then we did another song, and I added a verse from the Demon song into the song that we're doing currently. So yeah, I performed it a couple of times, and I think I got emotional probably like twice.
No, I think that that's one of the really amazing parts about creation is that you can sort of hide behind that creative lens, and then it's so that you can actually put it out in the world. But then when it is time to actually be able to go out and talk about it, you can then show your true colors and be like, hey, I know that it seemed like I was writing this from someone else's perspective, but this was really me all along. And I think that we're going, especially a little bit later on. I think as we're talking about the realist back music, I think we're going to definitely touch on some of the points that you brought up as you were talking about Love Yours and as you were talking about that song that you had penned. And what I'm interested in is Marcel, if you could tell us a little bit about your song and a little bit more about yourself, because I'd love to then get into how your two stories came together and how you got to the point of making the music that you are right now.
So it's actually really funny because me and him constantly have this debate about which artist is better, J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar. And he picked a J. Cole song, and I picked the Kendrick Lamar one. So that does not surprise me at all, because we've always been like that. But the song I picked was "These Walls" by Kendrick Lamar. The reason I picked this one is because this song really allowed me to truly feel like myself at the time that I heard it. So this album came out sometime in 2015. And at first, I thought it was a good album, but I wasn't really into it. Like like the one mentioned, Cortez mentioned, Forest Hill Drive had just came out a couple months prior, and that was the big album of the year at the time. So I was really vibing to that. So I enjoyed the album, To Pimp a Butterfly, but it wasn't like a great album to me at the time. In 2018, I remember it was winter, beginning of 2018, we have been doing these shows, like these really small shows at at this little club called the Red Sea. And I was just kind of watching the artists in Minneapolis that were blowing up. And it's just like, man, we are just like so much better than these guys. And so it really hurt my confidence. And one day, I believe it was February in 2018, I came home from work. I came home with my lovely wife, and I just sat on the bed and I just started crying. And she's asking me, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I couldn't give her an answer. I could not figure it out. And I realized the last time I felt this way was in high school when, I was having a lot of relationship issues. School was just really piling up and getting on me. There's a lot of drama among my friend groups. And so I tried to analyze, what is this feeling I'm feeling? And why did I have this? Why is this feeling coming back? And it kind of hit me that I think I realized that I had been suffering through a mild form of depression. And I was in the first time I thought I might be depressed was in high school, but I blew it off because I had a couple friends actually who suffered from more severe depression. And I was thinking well, I'm nothing like them. So obviously I don't have, and honestly, I was I really don't want to say in denial about it. My whole idea at the time, at least in high school and really up until this breakdown of mine, was you just gotta have a positive mindset. This is just something I just thought it was overblown. I thought it was something people could easily overcome and just choosing not to. Yeah, I really didn't understand it until that day when I finally broke down. I said, you've been actually really sad, and you've been sad for a really long time. And it's just time for you to admit it, that it was time for me to just sit down and admit hey, Like this is not, you're not at the point you want to be. You're not where you thought you would be. And you told yourself when you were younger, when you get older, things will be better, and things are not better. And one day so I finally even said it out loud. I told my wife, like after maybe a couple hours of crying, I said, I think I'm suffering from a mild form of depression. And she was really supportive about it. Cause she's kind of was in the same boat as me as far as depression, you know, how we thought about it. But she was really supportive about it and, you know, wanted to do anything that she could to help me. So one day, not too long after that, I was driving home, listening to a random playlist on Spotify, and These Walls by Kendrick Lamar came on. And I heard the song once and I had to listen to it again because something just like I don't even know what the word is, just like went through me when I listened to the song. And I just like, it just made me realize these emotions you feel are okay. It's normal. You shouldn't be upset with yourself because you feel this way. It's just how your mind is, just how you're thinking. How are you going to overcome it? That's what I need to realize. Like you're starting to understand your feelings. You're starting to accept them. You're starting to realize how to deal with them. Now, how are you going to overcome it? So I had listened to that song on repeat for like 3 weeks straight. And then me and Cortez have been talking about new music, and at the time I just like was not feeling. It's mostly my verses. I just wasn't enjoying my music. It was tough for me to memorize them. Usually, when I really like a verse, I can get in like one day. It was taking me like over a week to memorize these verses that I wrote. I wrote them, so I should be able to knock these out down pat. And I realized I just wasn't enjoying it anymore until me and Cortez started talking about the next project. And I think it just kind of really hit both of us that this one, like we gotta be like, this has to be our vision. Like we have to complete an entire project. For the longest time, we had just done a bunch of songs and just kind of threw them together to create. Mostly we had done like, it felt like mixtapes.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, we like sat down, took the time, like, no, let's organize a project. And finally, like once we sat down, realized what we want to focus on, what the entire album was going to be about, my music started to become fun again. I started enjoying what I was writing again, and I owe it. And the inspiration for the Panda Effect, our last album, was from To Pimp a Butterfly. Like my idea of it, how I wanted to flow, how I wanted it to sound. That's what I thought of To Pimp a Butterfly, especially These Walls. That was if I had to circle a song on that album that really just influenced the entire thing, it was definitely that one.
And that one amazing thing about that album is the fact that, like you were saying, it was released in 2015 and it is back on the charts right now. And I think that speaks to kind of the timeless nature of it and the timeless themes.
Born without a liver, and I woke up from a dream and painted a bigger picture, and I add a little color. COVID, it won't ruin summer, and you better call us jazz, cause we'll beat it like we drummers. I'm sicker than a resurrected era, right with epileptic episodes and vertigo, watching R. Kelly videos. You are now witnessing the brotherhood of penmanship, the realest bad music since vertebrae and neurologists. Aries at his finest, be worried if I am silent.
One thing that I did want to ask you a little bit about, because I think it helps add context to the story of your music, is can you talk a little bit about the Minneapolis rap scene and sort of how that is and how that compares to the music that you all are making?
Yeah, so like my view on it is I feel like Minneapolis is very they're very chart. They will take anyone they feel like can get to the top of the charts. They will try to make popular. Because I mean, there's been, I'm not even gonna say a couple. There's been plenty of shows and contests we have been a part of where just lyrically they just did not compete with us. And I mean, I'm not even saying we're the best artists in Minneapolis, because I have met a lot of great artists in Minneapolis. But it just seemed like if your song was just catchy, even if you like had no flow, no rhyme scheme, you know, if that beat was good. And I mean, it's like almost every show was somebody doing trap music. Somebody talking about the money they had, the bitches they got. Pardon my language. And I mean, it's just the drugs they move. It's like, I remember one time we did a show with 21 acts on it, and we were the only one who did not do a trap song. Only one. I remember
21 acts.
Yes.
How long was the show?
I can't remember. It was I want to say 2 hours, right?
Yeah, it was 2 hours. Everyone didn't have long sets. Okay. And we were the only one. In fact, the like people watching it like coming up to us like, "Hey, y'all were really good, you know, getting out there doing something different." And I was like, "Who made this show?" Like, I'm like, "What made you think we belonged to the show?" Like we didn't. But at the same time, a lot of artists that are similar to us and that I really believe are as talented, if not more talented than us, just don't get any recognition in the city. Like, we have to put together our own shows as a collective. We almost have a Wu-Tang group where it's basically someone just steps up and says, "Hey, I'm going to put a show together. Y'all want on it?" And we're all like, "Yeah, let's all get on it."
Do you prefer those shows that you put on yourself?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think me and him both, and then everybody else that does the same type of music as us, we all came out and say, okay, we like this style of shows better, because like Marcel said, it's like Minnesota and like in particular Minneapolis and St. Paul is just one track minded. So it's like, let's make a hit to get us, you know, famous or whatever, but they're lacking the content and I guess lacking the love, if that's safe to say. And it comes off as like arrogant when we feel like we're better than somebody else. But, you know, it's just us being confident and, you know, everybody's coming up telling us that, oh, you know, y'all can do this, y'all can do that. But then they won't push us as much because we're not making trap music.
How did you end up making music that was different from everyone else? And why didn't you just follow the trend? Because quite honestly, what you're saying is, you know, if you two are, you know, talented enough musicians, you two probably could have very easily made a really catchy trap song. So why didn't you go down that path?
So I actually started out as when I first started making music, I was a Christian hip hop artist. So I only did Christian rap music. And then when I left and graduated high school and went down to Drake University, I had met a couple guys down there that also did hip hop music, but they didn't do Christian music. And so at the time, I thought there was only really two genres. I thought you either did Christian hip hop or you did trap music. I really didn't think there was really much in between. You know, you got you got a few Kanye, Andre 3000, like you got a few that go in there that weren't either of those. But this was pre Kendrick and pre J. Cole before either of them got big. And so I'm thinking like, yeah, so it's like it's either Christian or trap. And I met these two guys, and when they told me they did hip hop music, first they laughed when I told them I did Christian music. They thought that was hilarious. And then so I was like, "So what kind of music do you do?" They're like, "Oh, we do rap music." So I immediately thought trap music. And then I heard their music, and it was just it was so different. I'm like, they didn't rap. I'm like, they didn't rap about money. They didn't rap about, well, they did rap about weed, but you know, whatever. They didn't rap about women. They didn't rap about selling drugs. It was about just having a positive influence and stuff that was going on throughout the world. And they then that was their main focus, just to push positivity in their music. And so I was like, oh, word. So we could just like you could rap about positive stuff. I didn't know that. And one thing that they taught me and that just has stuck by me, and shout out to both of them, Emmett Phillips and Ren Smith, shout out to both of them. one thing that they taught me is that all we ask you to do is rap what you know. Do not rap about stuff you don't know nothing about. And so I realized, I'm like, man, I don't know nothing about making a lot of money. I don't know nothing about selling drugs. I definitely don't get no hoes. I've been in relationships pretty much since sophomore year. No hoes, like real girlfriends and now wife. And so I can't rap about none of that. But I realized my music was a lot more fun when I did just rap about what I know. And I mean, even with Christian music, like I knew there was just some stuff about Christianity I didn't like fully understand. And, a lot of times it was, well, I enjoy rapping. So that's what these guys are rapping about. So I'm just going to rap what they're rapping about. But once I was able to rap what I want, I enjoyed my music so much more. I was blasting in the car, blasting it for other people. I used to never play my music for anybody until I changed.
Cortez, before we hop into a little bit more more about you answering the question that I had mentioned before, Marcel, around what year was this? I'm just trying to put this in context.
So I started making Christian music in 2009, and then I transitioned to more. I don't even know what to call it. I say
we'll call it secular.
Yeah, in 2014, at the beginning of 2014.
Okay, so right about the time that, or a little bit before you two started making music together.
Yep.
Okay, all right. And Cortez, I'm kind of interested in hearing your story about, again, you could have made trap music. Why did you choose to make this more conscious music?
Well, with me, it was literally the total opposite of how we are now and how Marcel started out, because I'll say like in high school, I used to just record like just random freestyles on songs that was already made, but it was never like real life stuff. It was always things that I seen somebody else doing. So like I used to make trap music and post them on YouTube and stuff like that. And then when I came up here, I think I recorded my first song in 2013, and I made a song with my stepbrother, and it's called "Run the City," and that was the trap song. And even though it was like me talking about street stuff and all this, it still had a message in it. But I planned out the plot very well, so I was like, my first song is gonna blow. I'm gonna be talking about trap stuff, get everybody on board. And then I'm going to switch it up on them to actually speak about what I do know and knowledge and all this other stuff. So, my first song, I was like a real hood guy, like talking about, fuck the police. I had one line in there rapping about my brother that he's in jail right now, but he committed murder. So I think the line was like, my big brother done killed a white girl, so it would make you think I won't kill one too. Just to sound cool, I guess. But everybody knows I'm not going to kill nobody. Like, I'm not in the streets like that. But I have dreads and I'm black. So Marcel first thought of me, he thought I did trap music when he first saw me.
This is a true story.
Yeah.
I was 100% convinced when I saw the dreads. I was like, man, this dude does trap music. I don't want to work with him.
Yeah, and like he told me that, and I just had like this evil grin because the first two songs that I put out was a trap song, and I wanted to do it that way so everybody can accept me for who I'm not, and then when they finally accept me for who I'm not, I'll show them who I really am. And, you either still accept me or you just kick me to the curb. And it was actually, they chose kicking me to the curb because, they didn't want to hear real rap or conscious rap. They wanted to hear guns and drugs and all this other stuff. So I guess that's when the depression first started. It's because my stepbrother, he was in a group at the time and they took off. And he took my song and made it his. And everybody praised him for it. But then they looked at me, was like, oh, you're just another guy that's on a song rapping about hood stuff. And, I was very sad about it because it's like, I help you put the song out, and it's my song, and you're getting praised for it. So it's like, you're just looking down on my parade and my talents for this guy, and y'all don't even know the half of the story of the song. But fast forward now, I feel like I can't see myself lying on a song to where I'm rapping about weed or drugs, because I write about everything that's happening in my life and in the world. So, if I'm going through a breakup, or, when I had my first kid, I have to write about that. I can't just go out here and write about something that I don't know anything about. And I feel like Marcel does the same thing. So, the fact that every song that we make it has to be real life events, that keeps us from like following the trend. And I just I can't see ourselves writing a trap song. And if we do, like, we have a couple of songs that's close to trap music, beat wise, but when you hear the words, it has a message in it. And I think that confuses everybody else, because they hear the beat and they're like, oh, this is about to be a hood song, we could turn up. And then they hear us rapping and they hate it because we're speaking a message. And they really hate that here in Minnesota for sure. So I can't see us writing new trap music.
So you don't feel like conscious rap is gaining any more, I guess, popularity or awareness in the Minneapolis rap scene?
I think like worldwide, basically, because if you do conscious music, you're not really on the radio. Like, you're basically underground. Mm-hmm. And I remember Kendrick Lamar said something about that too, where if you're conscious, they're not looking to push you through radio play or TV, doing interviews and stuff like that. Like, you have to push yourself, and you might have like a handful of fans that love hip hop. They'll love your music for what it is, but then you have way more people who just want the ignorant stuff, and talking about money and females and this, that. And it's like the step, like, hip hop is the step kid of music, if that makes sense.
If I can add to that too, a lot of us, so we've actually been told this multiple times, with our style of music, we need to aim outside of Minnesota. Mm-hmm. And outside of Minneapolis. We've been told that by a few producers and a few people who have been in the industry for a while. I think our biggest issue is we don't want to do that, though. we really want to build here in Minneapolis. Like, that's where our foundation, and a lot of the other conscious artists feel the same way. Why can't we? There's a lot of people who enjoy conscious music here in Minneapolis. Why can't we make that a scene here? Like, why are you guys trying to force us to go somewhere else? Yeah. When not only that, Minneapolis isn't even a big trap city. Yeah, there's North Minneapolis, but that's really it. Like, everywhere else is just like, people from Chicago and LA would laugh at the trap. Like, they.
It almost seems like that. Like trap music, the way that you're saying it, it really feels like music, especially in your city, music that's being made almost for the purpose of like escapism, right? It's talking about a lifestyle that someone doesn't have, or that people don't necessarily have, but it is an escape from where they are. And what you all are making is really authentic to life and what is going on, what is really going on between the two of you. Do you think that sort of authenticity can, and I think this very much goes off of what we were just talking about, but do you feel that sort of authenticity can become more popular? And do you think that just with the state of the world right now, do you think people are looking for more authenticity or more escapism?
That's a good question.
As far as what people are looking for, I think they're looking for more escapism. Yeah. Just the thought process as a person in general. I think a lot of people rather escape than face reality. But I do believe there's also a big group of people who really enjoy authentic. I can't say that word. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
And I think there are people who would really enjoy that, but escapism is what the main focus is. So people are going to produce that and promote that before they promote anything where it's like a smaller group of people.
I think it comes down to like where Minnesota is, because if you look at Southern hip hop, they have their own style. New York have their own style. California definitely have their own style. So it's like Minnesota is they're doing music just to be accepted instead of being true to themselves. And a lot of Minnesota music sounds like Chicago, to where what they call it, drill music or something like that. Yeah, so like music. Minnesota tried to sound like, Chief Keef or any other hardcore rapper out of Chicago. And I think that's the main issue, is that Minnesota don't have their own sound. So me being from the South, it's like, personally, I want to bring Southern music up here and focus on the real life events and consciousness. And, I want you to accept who I am. I don't want to put up front, just because it's cool right now. And Minnesota, I don't see it changing from hardcore to dominantly conscious rap. It might in like a couple of years, but I don't think it'll stick to it, because they just want to be accepted for something that they're not.
My peak will be the highest, never gonna stop. Those paths will meet a giant, and I'm gonna shock the world. Be ready to meet your highness. A Libra that's unbalanced, never sell my soul for talent. Automatically a savage and 10 years with the static. I'm continuously spitting toxic lyrics, call it acid raps. Realest nigga breathing fresh to death, call it casket nap. Jumping over obstacles, anything will be possible. Living with no limits to ceiling.
What do you think it is about Minneapolis? What leads to Minneapolis wanting to just replicate rather than having their own scene? Because you both have mentioned a couple times that, yeah, definitely it seems like Minneapolis is, they're just taking the sound out of Chicago, or maybe out of trap music that's informed from other parts of the country. But what do you think prevents Minneapolis from having its own unique sound?
Ooh, that's
I think
so. I'm from here. I'm born and raised here, and I've known a lot of artists since I was 14, so past 11 years now, and I can't. Everyone is just so unique. Well, most people that I've met are just so unique. I couldn't compare. I can't compare them to anyone. Like, we have this, the only one I could think of, like, we had this one friend named Devin, and this man is so much like Joey Badass, it's ridiculous. Like, every time he raps, all I hear, I'm like, that's Joey Badass, man. And I mean, just as far as flow wise, but like, he is the only one I know that I can listen to him and think of another artist. Everyone else is just strictly unique, like has their own sound, unless they're doing drill or trap music. And so I think because everyone in Minnesota is so unique, it's hard for anyone to find one sound. And so they just immediately go to the closest Midwest city and try to sound like that. Because, I mean, when people think Midwest, they really do think Chicago.
Yeah.
It's the biggest city in the Midwest. So that's what everyone aims for, Chicago.
And like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not saying Minnesota isn't, like, they don't experiment with sounds, because they do. Like, there's a lot of artists here that, sounds very different, and they experiment with their own music and stuff like that. And it sounds pretty good. But it's like, it's being overshadowed by, the Chicago type of rap, or even St. Louis or Detroit, It's all being overshadowed by that.
That's totally. And to be fair, Minneapolis has created, or has put out some phenomenal artists as well. So, and really artists that have changed the world. And with all that, I love to have. I like to end with sort of predictions here, and so. Where do you two see your music going in in the future? Was it 2018 where you put out the Panda Effect?
February 2018.
So where do you see your music kind of going over the next few years? And I'd just like to hear a little bit more about that.
Me, I'll just say like in probably the next 5 years, since it already been 5 years. I feel like I wouldn't say we'll be signed, because me personally, I wouldn't want to be signed. I just want to stay independent and like probably make our own label. And, hopefully our music will like be big enough to change the world, or at least part of it, because I feel like that's what we're aiming for right now. Like we're aiming to change Minnesota as a whole state, and everything that's going on here right now. We're aiming to change all that. So, once we accomplish Minnesota, then hopefully we can go to like a different state, like, my home state, North Carolina, and, change the mindset of that, or go to New York and, make changes there. So that's what I see it.
Me, I have zero interest in getting signed. I do not want. I've just read so much negative stuff about working with labels, and I enjoy us being in charge of our entire creative process, and not having no one tells us what to do, which is what I love. We make music at our own pace. We want to drop 2 albums in a year, 3 albums in a year, or 1 album in a year. We get to just do that. So I have no interest in signing a label, but I'm really looking forward into building our streaming platform. We finally got we're now starting to get to the point where we can start releasing music more regularly, and our play and fan base has slowly grown since the Panda Effect. And just like, it feels like every time we drop something, it just grows a little more. And like Cortez said, I really just want to make change. I want to make a difference, and I want to spread a message. I really don't care about being a millionaire, or, buying like shooting videos with expensive houses, cars, whatever. I have like no interest in any of that. I just want people to hear the message I'm speaking to them, and I hope they understand it. And like that's the best part about working with Cortez, is he fully understands that we're not looking for how can we make as much money possible doing music. We're trying to just spread a message and help build a community with our message.
Yeah. We got a small team behind us.
Hopefully in 5 years we're allowed to speak all over. Everyone in Minnesota knows who we are, and I don't even care if they love us. I just want them to know what we are doing.
No, that's totally fair. And my leading question before about authenticity versus escapism, I feel like the world is really ripe for authenticity right now, and it really feels like the world is ready to listen to what you all have to say. And I'm really excited to see what is next for you all. And I really appreciate your honesty, because I'm sure you don't necessarily do a lot of interviews talking about depression and talking about these songs that you were listening to way back when. But it's been fantastic to be able to talk to you both about your influences and where you see music going. And I guess since we're talking about your music, if people haven't heard of you before, what's a good starting point?
Black Thoughts, no doubt.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can find that on all streaming platforms. The album is the Panda Effect. Black Thoughts is a song, and I think that really fits into what the world is going through right now. Not just depression, or not just one person, but the entire world is literally going through what that song is speaking about. So I feel like everybody should take a listen to that.
All right, perfect. Well, so everyone should go out and check out The Real Is Back music. Their 2018 album, Panda Effect, is pretty damn good. I was listening to it the other day, and yeah, thank you guys again. And I hope everyone, despite everything that's going on in the world, has as good of a week as possible. And really look forward to seeing where things go from here for you all.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Have a good one. Bye. This episode was edited by me, Anil Maharjan. My co-host is Sarah Harrison. Additional editing and mixing was done by Chris Maffei at Multitrack Minds. You can check out their full line of services at multitrackminds.com. Special thanks this week to the members of The Real Is Back Music. These guys are wise beyond their years. They also have a ton to say about the state of the US and their city. Please follow them and keep an ear out for what they have to say in the future. Finally, if you're interested in being on our show, submit the form on the Instagram page or email us, thesongthatgotmethrough@gmail.com. Until next time, don't lose touch.